There's a 17-year-old at this World Cup who did something Pelé never did. Something Lamine Yamal, the boy everyone calls the future of football, never did either. And you've probably never heard his name. He's Mexican. He's the youngest player at the entire 2026 World Cup. He's too young to legally rent a car in the country he's playing in. And last summer, at 16, he won a senior international trophy. Younger than Pelé did it, younger than Yamal did it, younger than anyone in the history of the sport. Let that land. A kid born in 2008 already holds a record that Pelé, the only man to win 3 World Cups, never touched. That Lamine Yamal, the 250 million euro golden boy, never touched. His name is Gilberto Mora, and while the entire planet is busy arguing about Yamal, Mexico has quietly been sitting on the most gifted teenager nobody is talking about, hosting this World Cup, wearing the number 19. So why is a country that waited 40 years for a player like this still too scared to start him? This is the story of the most gifted teenager you've never heard of. To understand how rare this is, you have to understand where he started. Gilberto Mora was born in Tuxtla Gutiérrez, not a football capital, not an academy hotbed, a city in the south of Mexico most fans couldn't find on a map. His father was a professional player who became a youth coach at Club Tijuana. So the kid grew up inside the game, with a ball at his feet before he could spell his own name. But here's where it stops being a normal prodigy story. Most academy kids wait years for a sniff of the first team. Mora trained with the pros for a few weeks, and the coach took one look and put him in the squad. At 15 years old, he made his professional debut. At 15, he became the youngest goal scorer in the history of the Mexican League. Not the youngest that season, the youngest ever. And the people who watch football for a living started saying the same 3 words about him. This guy's different. Not different like talented, different like once in a generation, rewrite the record books different. Then came the part that made Europe sit up. The biggest clubs on earth, Real Madrid, Manchester City, Barcelona, Chelsea, PSG, AC Milan, all reportedly circling a kid who couldn't yet vote. And Tijuana's response? 2 days before the World Cup, they locked him into a new 3-year contract and handed him the number 10. In Mexico, the number 10 isn't just a shirt, it's a statement. It says, "This is our future, and we're not selling." What makes him special isn't just the goals. Watch his head. Before the ball even reaches him, he's already looked around 3-4 times, scanning, calculating, deciding. Coaches call it being on a swivel. For a 17-year-old, that football brain is almost unheard of. But talent that young comes with a question nobody in Mexico wants to answer out loud. Here's the problem. The most gifted teenager Mexico has produced in a generation is still, mostly, watching from the bench. When Mexico opened the World Cup against South Africa, Mora didn't start. He came on in the 65th minute, and in his time on the pitch, he completed every single pass he attempted. Calm, precise, fearless in front of 80,000 screaming fans at the Azteca. He didn't look like a kid having a moment, he looked like a kid who belonged. So the question Mexico is wrestling with is the same one that haunts every country blessed with a teenage genius. Do you protect him? Bring him slowly, shield him from the weight? Or do you unleash him and risk burning the brightest talent you've had in decades? The manager, Javier Aguirre, is a veteran. His instinct is caution. Use the kid as a substitute, fresh legs, control the game late, safe, sensible, and maybe exactly wrong. Because here's the thing about generational talent. It doesn't always wait politely for its turn. Yamal didn't wait. Pelé didn't wait. He won a World Cup at 17. The greatest teenagers in history weren't managed carefully. They were turned loose. And this is where not everyone agrees. Some say Aguirre is right, that throwing a 17-year-old into the furnace of a home World Cup is how you destroy a career before it starts. Others say Mexico is wasting the one player who could actually win them something out of pure fear. Whether you think he should start or think the bench is protecting him, that's a debate worth having. But the clock is ticking. Mexico is hosting this thing. The pressure of a nation that hasn't reached a World Cup quarterfinal on foreign soil in living memory is pressing down. And the one kid who plays like the moment doesn't scare him is the one they keep holding back. The question is how long they can afford to. So here's where it all comes together. Mexico has spent 40 years waiting for a player like this. Not a good player, they've had plenty. A transcendent one. The kind that doesn't just win games, but changes how a country sees itself. And for the first time in a generation, he's here. He's 17, and he's wearing their number 10. But before I go further, here's the one fact that should make you hit subscribe right now, because almost nobody has put it together. Everyone knows Lamine Yamal. Everyone calls him the future of football. Well, when Mora won his senior international trophy last summer, he did it younger than Yamal ever did. Younger than Pelé. Younger than anyone in the entire history of the sport. The most hyped teenager on the planet is Yamal. But the record? The record belongs to a Mexican kid almost nobody outside his country can name. Now think about what that means for this World Cup. If Aguirre turns him loose, if Mora gets real minutes in the knockout rounds, Mexico doesn't just have a mascot, they have a weapon. A player who has, at every single level he's ever played, been too good for his age. Liga MX, too good. Youth International, too good. Senior Trophy, too good, too young, record-breaking. And he does it all while staying so grounded that when a reporter asked how he'd celebrate winning the World Cup, the 17-year-old thought about it and said he'd get an ice cream. Vanilla. That's the kid. Ice cream and a broken record older than almost everyone reading this. The greatest teenagers don't wait for permission. The only question left is whether Mexico is brave enough to stop protecting him and start believing in him. Because 40 years of waiting ends the moment they let him off that bench. Whose World Cup is this? Yamal's? Or the kid who already beat his record? Tell me below. Subscribe for the stories the big channels are too slow to tell.